Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make apple turnovers. Hey Sugar Spun bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. My apple turnovers are super simple, so flavorful, and completely from scratch, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing you'll want to do is get your oven preheating to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Now for today's recipe, you are going to need a double batch of my foolproof, flavorful pie crust, so you'll want to make sure that you have that prepared in advance. I'll make sure to link to that in the recipe description. So while the pie dough is chilling, we can go ahead and prepare our apple filling. You're going to need about 4 apples for the filling, and we're going to go ahead and first peel them. And then we'll dice the apple into pieces no larger than ½ an inch. I like to keep the pieces about uniform in size as much as I can. Here, take a look. You can see they're pretty small pieces. All right, we'll set these aside and now we'll head over to our stovetop where we're going to cook the filling for our turnovers. In a large skillet, we'll combine our apples with 2/3 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of butter, you can use salted or unsalted here, whatever you have on hand, a ½ teaspoon ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, and an 1/8 teaspoon of table salt. Now we're going to stir everything together and cook over medium-low heat until that butter is completely melted. Now once the butter is melted, I like to increase the heat to medium, and we're just going to cook everything, and you'll notice the mixture will start to bubble and simmer. We're going to stir constantly once this happens, or pretty much constantly, and we're going to cook until the apples are slightly softened. This usually takes about 5 minutes. So I just like to use a fork to test that the apples are finished. If you just pierce the apple, the fork should go through pretty easily. There can be some resistance, but it shouldn't be crisp or difficult to pierce the apple. So these are nice and perfectly tender, so the mixture is done cooking, and we're going to remove it from the heat. For a little added flavor, I like to add a ½ teaspoon of vanilla extract, and we'll stir that in as well. All right, so our apples are still pretty hot right now. We don't want to add them to our pie dough just yet because it could end up melting the pie dough. So we're going to set it aside and let it cool for about 15 minutes or so. However, in the meantime, we can go ahead and grab our pie dough and we can start rolling this out. Now I have my pie dough broken into 2 separate parts, and we're just going to be working with one at a time. Now you'll want to roll this out on a lightly floured surface, and I like to periodically scrape it up with a spatula to keep it from sticking to the counter. This will just make it easier to move the squares when you're ready to transfer them to your baking sheet. This recipe makes about 10 to 12 turnovers. I like to try and get 6 squares out of each half of the pie dough. Now you'll want to roll the dough to be about an 1/8 inch or slightly thicker than an 1/8 inch thick. You don't want to make it too thin or you're not going to be able to easily cover up your apple filling and the dough will just tear. Now personally, I like to use a ruler to measure my squares. It's just going to make things a lot easier when I go to assemble my turnovers, but maybe you've got a super steady hand and a good eye and you can do it without a ruler. Major props to you if you can do that. And I'm just using a pizza cutter here just because it's easiest, but a sharp knife would work just fine instead. All right, now we'll transfer these squares over to a parchment paper lined baking sheet. And we're going to need an egg wash for these turnovers, so we'll make that really quickly. And an egg wash, super simple. You just need 1 egg mixed with about a teaspoon of water, and you want to whisk that together until it's nice and smooth. Now grab yourself a pastry brush, and we are just going to lightly brush each square all over with some of this egg wash. And at this point, our apple filling should be sufficiently cooled. It's okay if it's a little bit warm, it just shouldn't be super hot. We're going to scoop about 1½ tablespoons, maybe between 1½ and 2 tablespoons of filling, and place that slightly off center in each square of apple turnover dough. Then once we've added our filling, we'll just fold over the square, point to point. I'm just gonna gently press down. We're going to seal these in just a second, but I like to get them all filled first. To seal our turnovers, we're just going to use the tines of a fork and just seal them all the way around. This will keep our filling from oozing out in the oven. We'll need that egg wash again, and we're just going to lightly brush the surface of all of the turnovers. Now we'll use a sharp knife to cut a couple of small vents in on that top dough, that top layer of pastry, meaning it does not need to go all the way through the turnover, we're just cutting through that surface layer. All right, now this step is optional, but I love to sprinkle my turnovers with a little bit of coarse sugar before they go in the oven. I'm also going to be glazing them, so it might be overkill, but it just gives them such a nice, crisp, sweet texture on top. All right, we'll take these over to our 400-degree oven where they're going to need to bake for about 23 to 25 minutes. The turnovers should just be beginning to turn a nice golden brown color. All right, we'll let these turnovers cool for a little bit, and then we'll prepare a super simple vanilla glaze. Really easy to make. We're just going to combine 1 cup of powdered sugar with just a splash of milk. I usually end up needing about 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk. How much you need may vary. Before I mix that in, we're also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then we'll just whisk everything together. Now, I want this to be nice and smooth. I don't make it as thin as some of my glazes, but you can see I need a little bit more milk. And here we have a nice texture. I like to pipe the icing on my turnovers, so I'm not going to make it any thinner than this, but if you wanted to drizzle yours on with a spoon, then you could add a little bit more milk here. Now I put mine in a small Ziploc bag and just snip the end off. And then go ahead and pipe it on my turnovers. I should actually be a lot better at this. When I was a teenager, I used to work at an Arby's, and part of my job was to ice the turnovers when they came out of the oven. And I got in trouble a lot because I always used more icing than we were allowed to. And that is how you make my favorite apple turnovers. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe, and if you tried this one out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Do you want to try some?
Yeah.
How is it?
Good.
Good? You want some more?
Uh-huh.